Medicaid, and all private and other insurance. Salem Memorial District Hospital. Every patient, every encounter, every time.
At the KSMO studios, time for us to sit down with our CEO from our Salem Memorial Hospital, and that is Mr. Wayne Reid. He is here.
Good morning.
How are you?
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal. I love it. Great.
Couldn't be much better.
Well, fantastic. So anyway, it's good to see you, my friend, and he's got his nice hot cup of coffee, so he is all pumped and ready to go.
Take the Salem Cup.
Yeah, there you go. All right, very good. We're going to talk about Tuesday's Board of Directors meeting, and there's a lot of information at that meeting handed out. Of course, the meeting, by the way, is open to the public. So if you'd like to come, and you can come to the hospital library, and you can attend the Board of Directors meetings. They're Tuesdays. It's always the first Tuesday after the third Monday, so we make it easy. No problem there.
Every month.
I know. Sometimes that messes people up, though. They think, oh, it's the third Tuesday. No, it's the first Tuesday after the third Monday. Yeah, they have that medical staff meeting in, and that's the third Monday of every month, and then the board follows that. Very good. Well, let's just kind of jump into it. I know your time is limited, so we'll go right into the CLIA survey. And you want to tell us how that went?
That CLIA survey went extremely well. I will tell you that the surveyors came in, and I don't think they were expecting to find as good a survey as they did. Mm-hmm. They came in, and our new lab director had everything at fingertips the way she should have. And every time they would ask for something, she was reaching for a binder to show them what we had, and I think we restored confidence in that team. And so they were here, I want to say, in the neighborhood of just 2 hours.
Wow.
And they were able to determine that we were back on track, and that they were pleased with what they saw.
Very good.
And they were very complimentary of the team, and the whole hospital sort of banded together to pull some records together to make sure that they had what they needed when they got here. So it was a whole hospital team effort.
Very good. All right, so there's an EDIS installation that's going on. Would you explain that?
Yeah, the Emergency Department Information Systems. We have CPIS, which is the hospital electronic medical record,
right.
And we have been for a long time using their medical surgical, like if you're an inpatient on the floor, we've been using that module to track and to manage patient care in the ED, which you can do, but it's not ideal. It's not optimized for that. So we, through grant funding, got an EDIS module, which is specific for the emergency department. And Tabitha did a great job. She was actually originally invited to go and help do a implementation presentation at the Orlando conference, but that got moved away. But she impressed them.
Yeah.
She impressed them with the work that she did to get ready for that. So that implementation has been going on this week. Over the next couple of weeks, we will. And I asked her this morning, and that we should by the start of the next month, we'll be able to get things like our door-to-doctor time and some things that we've not been able to have. So what's our door-to-greet time? What's our door-to-doctor time, so that we can start telling the community what our wait times are like and what our outcomes are like in the emergency department. And that system will be able to track that because it's specific for the ED.
And people may know Tabitha Stanfast has done a number of jobs at the hospital, but the emergency department really is her baby, and she does a tremendous job there, doesn't she?
She's done a good job.
Very good. We're talking a little bit about a bunker clinic. There's been some rumors, I always like to say rumors going on, about a clinic going in a bunker, and it's becoming closer to a reality.
Yep. So we're working with the team in bunker. I was down there a couple of weeks ago. We had lunch with them. Looked at one of our staff members actually had some bought a small house right across the street from the
City Hall.
City Hall. I couldn't think of the name. I wanted to call it a courthouse. Right across the street from Bunker City Hall, and we're looking through what it would take to turn that into a little clinic there. It's not something that's going to happen in the next 60 days, but if you don't work on it, it will never happen. So, but the folks in Bunker are very excited about that, and we'd love to be able to find the time and the finances and the funding to be able to go down there and help them. But
and actually on staff, you have a couple bunker people with the Blands down there. So
they're
actually coming out of the bunker area. The dough run contract, still kind of waiting on the attorney to get all the T's crossed and I's dotted?
Yep, they're still waiting on that. I talked to Jason this morning, and I told him that I'm actually going to be taking my first day off So I'm going to get a U-Haul and go to West Virginia and pick up the rest of my stuff. We have a contract at our house, and I said, so on the way back, if I know Bunker's not on, Viburnum's not on the way back, but if I need to, I can swing by Sunday night and pick up that contract if I need to.
Very good, very good. All right. Also, you had a chance to meet with Jim Hodge, who was taking over Seville and also the other nursing facilities or residential care facilities. And you had a nice lunch with him.
We're going to have a
lunch with him.
I met with him for a couple of weeks ago, and we set up a lunch. I want to say it's Monday or Tuesday, and I'm gonna go and have lunch with him and his other partner, who I've not yet met, and then we're going to talk about what the future collaboration opportunities are between us and them. You'll see in some of the statistics in a minute. We've got some pretty good data that we can share with him that
Absolutely.
I think will please him in what we do. And then when we get done with that, I'm going to go on a tour of the facilities and actually see what they look like and, get to know them a little better.
Very good, very good. The patients at the clinic continue to go up.
Very good, yep. We've had strong, Mark noted during the meeting that it looks like that in the last several weeks, we've had several days where we had over 100 patients in a day, and I think one period last week, we had 100 for 3 days in a row or something. So very strong. What's really nice about that is we're also adding new patients. We've added over 200 new patients in the last 2 months to the clinic. So
that's fantastic.
I'm glad that Salem and Dent County is trusting us with their care.
And definitely, people need to have a doctor. They need to have a family doctor. And I know Dr. Bland has talked about it a number of times, and we still have, they do child care. They can do everything you need for your family. So please take a look at that. Hospital Clinic does a tremendous job over there. And, got Dr. Al, Dr. Bland, you've got all your nurse practitioners, and you've got a great staff over there to take care of them. So, if you need a family physician, contact SMH Clinic.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to the whole staff over there. There was I would say that access to our clinic when I got here was a little more cumbersome than it is today, but they've done an awful lot of work to make that easier to get to, all the way from calling in to them to getting appointments. And I'd like everybody to know that we have a vibrant walk-in clinic, so you don't necessarily have to have an appointment. You can't pick your provider if you walk in, but all the way up till 6 o'clock at night. And then our Saturday clinic has been also very popular.
Very good, very good. Jason Smith's office staff came out to visit you. Probably Grant from the Rolla area.
Exactly. So they came in, and we had a good conversation. Several board members and I and some of the hospital team did a tour of the facility so they could see what we have here. I wanted them to see that not only do we have a small hospital here, but we have some pretty high-tech stuff. So I showed them the lab. I showed them the things that we can do in radiology. They got to see our respiratory therapy department. They saw our surgery department. So they saw the inpatient unit, and so they got a sense of a flavor for what is at stake here. And then I told them that there are three things that are instrumental to our future. One is, we were getting 101% of Medicare. Now we moved to 99%, so we said we need to get that restored, and that would represent hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to the hospital. And then I said, Medicare Advantage is I don't know who it advantages, but it doesn't advantage my patient, and it doesn't advantage my hospital. So the push towards Medicare Advantage, and then the other thing that we need to make sure is continued and augmented is the 340B program for pharmacy.
They really sell that Medicare Advantage like a big deal, and it's just not a good deal, especially in a rural area. You don't get those benefits. I mean, they're not there.
And not only that, it's a good deal until you need it.
And then you got to get pre-approved.
And then so I told those folks that I told Representative Smith's staff that we use interqual criteria to admit a patient, and if they're a Medicare patient, we know exactly what they need to do to be admitted. So either admitted or approved or pre-authorized for a test. We know exactly what to do, and those get reimbursed every time because we know what they expect from us. That same patient, if they have Medicare Advantage, sometimes won't get pre-approved or will take weeks to get approved.
That's ridiculous.
And it's the same payer source, and it should be the same criteria. And I've been on the phone with those folks and said, tell me exactly what it is that we need to do. Well, you need to use interqual criteria. And I said, well, that's interesting because that's exactly what we're doing. So I don't know who it advantages, but the push towards Medicare advantages is not good for the patients, and it's not good for us either.
Yeah, I know, and I had the opportunity to go on Medicare, and the first thing I said is no Medicare Advantage. Do not even recommend it. And they're like looking at me. I said, it's not going to benefit me here, and I've heard horror stories.
Yep.
Don't want it. All right, let's talk a little bit about some old business that we have. We got a kitchen drain issue that's still out there. We've got some other things that probably need to be done. I heard some words of the word grant used in there.
Yep.
That would be a wonderful addition.
So we're talking. We're working with Ron Copeland's office. There's some potential state grant funds that are available to us, or that are available in the state of Missouri. So we're looking at that. We actually put several things in that request. That we just started yesterday, because I heard about it Tuesday afternoon, so we started that yesterday. The kitchen drain proposal, which is somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000. And then there's, then I asked, there's all of our roofs need to be repaired, and those are, it's like 10 or 20, those are very expensive to repair. Yeah. And then some parking lot work, and then we'd like to do some construction in our clinic to be able to. You probably know that our clinic was not designed to be one unit.
No.
It was designed specifically, I think, to not be one unit.
No, that's just two different doctors there.
Two different
and
providers.
Made sure it was separated that way too.
And it was they did a very good job of separating that, but you can't transition from one side of the clinic to the other without going through the main hallway. It's not good for patient registration now that we are one big place. So we've had some conversations with architects for that, and that's around a $400,000 to $500,000 ask.
Even though some cosmetic changes have been made in the clinic, that's a major change.
Yeah.
That's moving a firewall and things of that nature.
And one of the things that we're looking at as we do that is the potential for putting an elevator in so that we can drop down into the basement and start accessing
Counting's down there.
Well, that whole area, and converting that into clinical space if
that'd
we
be
need
great
to.
too. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. All right, very good. Still setting some dates on the finance committee. I still don't have those dates yet. I think very good.
Our new CFO was out of town last week. He had some personal things he had to attend to. So
vacation already.
No, I bet he wishes it was a vacation, but it wasn't.
No, I know. I get it.
And so we're working through the budget process, and so as we get closer with the budget process, we'll work with the finance committee to make sure that those budgets are approved.
And medical staff bylaws, that'll be next month. We're gonna put that off.
Yep.
You had enough stuff going on.
We had plenty going on.
Yeah. All right, couple purchases in the month. You want to talk about those purchases? The one for the ED stretchers?
Yeah. So we've had, the nice things about ED stretchers is they work real well until they don't. And we've had two that were broken, and so we needed to replace those. And it's not like buying a hammock. They're very expensive. So we went out and we got approved to get two of those, and we used our contracting to get a pretty good deal on those.
Right, and these take up to 700 pounds.
700 pounds.
Yeah, stretchers anymore. You have to have that extra weight.
We're growing them big, we're growing them big.
You got that, and also there was a piece of equipment bought for the lab.
Yeah. So we, which one? I'm sorry. Which one was that?
That was the stretchers.
The
lab is from Stego.
Okay, so that was that's a different one. So that was we have there was a request for when our consultant was here and they did some work with us before. They put a device in there for doing some of our blood tests that weren't really appropriate for a hospital, so we got a $21,000 approved from the board to get a piece of lab equipment that will help that.
And they'll come in and implement it and teach everybody. Yep. Very good. Very good. All right, so as we look at the monthly stats, we look at inpatient admissions, 103, inpatient census days, 323, all above what we anticipated. And swing bed days, again, way above everything. So a busy month for the hospital in March.
So I try not to crow too loudly because those things are temporary. They can be very temporary, but I want to make mention of the fact that there's two things that are really neat about those numbers. One is that we're in a 28-day month in February, so we had fewer days.
Right.
And, we've talked about this several times. When we did the budget last year before I got here, it was done so quickly that instead of spreading it over the normal number of days and, based on seasonality, they just spread it. So we outperformed a 31-day budget in 28 days. So that's very strong. And Februarys are typically pretty tough in hospitals.
Yeah, they are. And then the average length of stay in med-surg actually was a day lower than what we anticipated and down from last year.
And that's good.
But the amount of patients, the volume was up.
Yep, that's good. So what you want to do is you want to be able to resolve their condition quickly, get those folks out appropriately, and then you want it, so where you want to see in a hospital is you want to see your med-surg length of stay go down, and you want to see your swing bed patients go up to an appropriate level, and those are the two things that we saw. So the dynamics were very good.
And the stats on outpatient registrations above budget, way over last year. Lab tests are over last year, above budget.
Significantly.
And then, of course, radiological procedures, again, way up. So the services the hospital's offering to outpatient registrations as well as to inpatient registrations continues to get used.
It continues to get used.
And grows, and it just continues to grow.
And that's one of the things about having those providers in the clinic that helps us to be able to keep those patients in our system and keep them close to home, and so that clinic is a big part of the success of our outpatient.
Absolutely, and it's right there.
It's right there, and it's convenient.
And your equipment is relatively brand new, if not brand new.
Yeah, so most of our lab equipment is brand new, and we will have an even newer piece of equipment coming in soon. We have a brand new CT. We have a almost brand new MRI.
Less than a year.
Less than a year. I mean, there's an embarrassment of riches. We have very, very good equipment here.
Absolutely fantastic equipment. Emergency room was about where it was last February when you look down from budget, but we still see numbers in there. I hate to see any AMAs. I just hate to see anybody go in there and then leave for whatever reason.
Yeah. And so one of the things that that this new software will do is it will help us be able to track that a little better. So a lot of what we're doing, because we don't have an ED-specific software, a lot of the things that we have to track out of there are manually. So my belief is that we'll be able to look at why people leave. And you have a number of people who come in and they think that it's a clinic, and so they come in and they go, oh, wait a minute, and then they leave before we get to them. Sometimes, we have very short times, but sometimes we don't. And so sometimes people get frustrated by that. But we work really hard on the AMAs.
Well, there's automobile accidents and somebody has severe injury. You've got to treat them right now. And if you're out there with a hangnail,
well, we usually don't see those, but
well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's something very minor.
Yeah.
You're going to get pushed back, and that's hopefully you understand that.
Yeah, and I also want to say that part of the reason that we've not seen some of the same growth in our emergency room visits is because we're having success in our clinic.
Exactly.
So we will see an out-migration of those patients who would have ordinarily been seen inside the ER. Some of those, I think, are transitioning to the clinic.
Absolutely. Your Saturday patients would not be at the clinic.
That's
they would be
correct.
down in the ER.
That's correct.
Very good. Ambulance runs continues to be strong. They continue to make a lot of runs. Transported 125 patients. Still about 1/3 dry runs, which is not much you're going to be able to do about that.
That means we were ready a third of the time that they didn't want us.
Well, or you're on the way, and they said, don't need you.
Don't need you.
Don't need you. All right, very good. Quickly looking at the numbers for the balance sheet, and had a nice little breakdown of your cash account, which I really appreciate, so people get a better idea. And you might want to talk a little bit about that. Some cash that the hospital has is restricted. It cannot be used except for what it's being used for. And then you have your general operating account, and then special accounts and payroll accounts.
Yeah.
So can you explain that a little bit?
So one of the things that, and we've said this several times in our conversations, that our financials have been problematic and have been difficult because we've had to make a lot of adjustments because of some of the things that have happened in the past. And so it makes it difficult to predict. So the two things that I look at to make sure that we're doing what we need to do is to make sure that our accounts payable are not growing, because we don't want that. And you don't want to grow cash at the detriment of APs. That's not how you want to grow it. So you want to make sure that stays flat or starts to fall, which ours has, and then you want to see that your cash is going up. And so when, whenever the crisis came, I think there was about 10 days of cash or less.
I think it was less.
On hand, and now we're at, depends upon the month, we're in the 40s, routinely. So, but that's also very fluid because, we have a big payroll, we pay a big payroll, it drops off. So,
The cash on hand is a daily adjustment.
we watch it every day.
And some days it looks great. And the next day, like you say, you make a payroll and down it goes like 10 days. Like, what the heck happened?
Jumps up.
It has to happen that way. So as we look at the financials, as you mentioned, accounts payable, I'm not going to go through all those numbers, but they also have broken that down to you. So now the board can see exactly what you're saying. Before that, they couldn't really tell.
So we're trying to be very transparent and give them what they need to be able to help us operate the hospital, and there has been questions, and there should be.
Absolutely. All right. So as we look at the month, obviously we talked about how busy the month was. That usually produces good numbers. February had a positive gain from operations.
Second month in a row.
The nice thing about that is you got some tax revenues on top of that. So a nice 380,000 about?
Yeah,
somewhere right
315,
somewhere in there. Okay, when it's all said and done. So that's a nice gain, and it makes you feel good to see 2 months in a row that you've had positive numbers.
Yeah, and I think that the things that are important is that, first of all, some of those numbers that we're comparing to were times when we were still getting big COVID relief funds. Second, we then are comparing it to times whenever we were paying COVID relief funds money back. But if you look at what our excuse me.
It's all right.
If you look at our income from operations, our incomes from operations are continuing to climb, and that's what you want to see. You want to see income from operations continue to climb, and that's what is demonstrating that we're doing better. Now, again, back to not wanting to crow because there comes lean months and there comes fat months, and so you have to, and that's why we try to preserve cash on hand, and that's why we watch our AP the way we do, so that we can make sure that we have cash on hand if we go through a lean period. So it's a daily juggle.
And when you mentioned before about the clinics maybe possibly even taking away patients from your ED department, those adjustments had to be made too, because you're realizing if you open this on Saturday, those people will not go to your ED, and that changes that dynamic.
Yep. So everything that you do, the dynamic is a good word. This is like a living organism. Every time you do one thing here, it affects something else, and you have to be prepared for that. All the way down to when we were talking about, earlier when we were talking about our bunker clinic. We think that will be good for the community, but some of our patients that we see here are actually bunker patients, so we will lose some of that volume. It'll go to bunker. We get a lower reimbursement rate there because of the way the rural healthcare clinic works. So we have to balance all of those things before we make decisions.
But the service goes up.
The service goes up, yep. Yeah. And that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah,
that's why we're talking about it.
And it's right there for those people. They don't have to travel.
That's correct.
So
we think there'll be more patients who will make use of our services if we have it there. So we have, everything is a balancing act.
It sure is. Very good. So, and looking at the financials, as you mentioned, the contracts are finally starting to come down as well. And I know that was a major concern because there had to be a lot of contractual labor. There still is some.
Yeah. So the only place right now that we have contract labor is in our laboratory. And that's true across the country. I've heard that some of our sister hospitals in the area still are having issues with contract labor in the lab, so that's tough. But I will say our new lab director and the lab team are doing a very good job with that.
Well, very good. So, I mean, that was always one concern. Now you're getting the people that are now staying in the hospital, employees of the hospital, and that's how you generate family. Because you can't do that when somebody's here 3 months and then gone.
Yep.
Well, very good. All right, looking at all the financials, you mentioned days cash on hand, 41. It was as of the day that this report was issued. I'm assuming February 28th.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. And
if you look back,
interestingly,
if you look back, I think it's 2018. Our cash on hand was 38 days for the year.
Oh yeah.
So that tells us that we're in similar shape to there from a cash perspective. And in that year, that's when we did our clinic. So they were expanding in a time when we had 38 days of cash on hand, and today we have 41. Now, again, I don't want to crow too loud because that's all fluid.
The kiss of death, right?
Yeah, it's all fluid. But
But see, that's the idea. If people are healthier by going to the clinic, your hospital admissions should go down. But if they're using all the services that the hospital has,
Yep.
then it is a balancing act.
Everything's a balancing act.
And it'll work out great. Talk a little bit about the 340B revenue plan.
So
people understand it.
340B around the country is a little off. That's why we talked about it with the with Representative Smith's staff. But ours is off a little bit more, and we've talked to Vanessa, our new lab director, our new pharmacy director, about why that is, and we think that some of that is the way that we're utilizing it in our clinic. So we've had some clinic turnover. We've got new providers in our clinic, so we're going to be working with that. And Vandervert's is there, and they're not represented, but that's a system error, and that will report next month.
Okay, very good. We talked a little bit about last time you guys implemented a cash burn per week.
Yeah, we've been doing that since RHG got there.
Right.
And if you will note, let me see which slide
It's
you're looking at.
it's
Yep,
really
that
small.
slide. That slide, if you look at the very bottom, I think that the key thing there is in the last 12 weeks we've put cash back in the building.
Right.
Which is good. Again, that's not just your operating fund; it's also your rainy day fund. So you want to build that cash so that when rainy days come, you have that to be able to bridge to you get back to those fat years.
You must have looked at the forecast with rainy day.
Rainy day funds. That's
but that's a different kind of rainy day fund.
That's correct.
That's absolutely thing. And I hope people understand what has gone on in the last year with the electric changeover and the new transformer and other things that had to be done. These are major. These are major expenses to the hospital that you have to recover from in a time that was critical.
Tough. That
critical.
Was very tough.
Yeah.
So I will say that between RHG and the team on the ground, they did miraculous work to be able to get us to the point where when I got here, 7 months ago, that we could start. And I would say that the start of the transformation of the hospital really began 7 months ago. Whenever you got when you got your new CEO here, and we could start doing. So they got sort of the bleeding stopped, and now we're getting the patient into rehab, and that's so we can get it better.
You have to get your system in place. As soon as you get here, you have to get the system going the way that you expect. You want to see this report on your desk, that report. I need to see it every day or every other day or whatever it is that you need to see. That's how the hospital will start to get on track, right?
Yep. And I pointed this out. So some of the things that we're going through were because people weren't doing that to the degree that I'm accustomed to before. And Friday a week ago, we were in. I have a meeting every morning. I just came from our 8 o'clock meeting before I got here. We have a meeting every morning at 8 o'clock to talk about where we are, what we're doing, what the deal is. Like, it's about a 10 or 15-minute meeting. It's sort of for my benefit and the rest of the teams. And one of the things that I asked for there was every day for people to talk about their cash collections from the day before. And because we do that now, last Friday, we had two people who were going, wait a minute, my cash collections aren't what they should be. Our numbers are here, but our volume is here, but our cash isn't there. So we saw that at 8 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, we'd figured out that it was part of that EDIS conversion that had turned some stuff, and we were actually billing $2,012 instead of $2,023. Ooh, buddy, that's tough. So we then went and started to fix that. We had a fix by mid-afternoon, and that would not have happened, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago. We wouldn't have noticed that because we are watching it every day, every morning, and so that will not impact us. That blip would have been a much bigger thing, I think, years ago, and it could have gone on for months and not noticed it. And we noticed it within hours, and it will not impact us. Now, it may cause a blip in a day or two, as money washes through, but it's not going to be the issue that it once was. And I'm not going to say that we'll never get caught by something again, but we're much better prepared to not get caught now.
Well, there's humans entering it, and sometimes a typo can happen.
Yep.
And that typo can cost people. It's part
of it. I walked into Jeremy's office, our IT director, and after that meeting, and there was a half a dozen people from clinical, non-clinical, IT, finance, all circled around his desk trying to figure out what happened. And it was great watching that team work. And again, I think that's something else that might not have happened in the past. But everybody was engaged. Everybody was into it. Everybody paid attention to it. And we resolved that. And while that was happening, RHG was, up north watching air
it.
traffic and controlling and watching it occur while we did it. So
Fantastic.
having all those resources has been unbelievably helpful.
Fantastic. Ambulance update. We're still getting them wrapped, right?
Either they're wrapping them or frosting them. It's taking this. It's as a CEO, it's funny. Some of the things that you think will be very difficult turn out to be very easy, and some of the things that you think will be very easy take forever. And the wrapping this ambulance has been
Seems like forever.
It's been forever.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to have been back Friday, but it'll probably come in tomorrow while I'm off.
There you go. Yeah, you're gone. All of a sudden, wait.
There comes the
They're all,
ambulance.
yeah, here they all come. Wait, come back.
Come back. I'm back.
Come back. All right, let's talk a little bit about some rotations, some nursing rotations that are going on right
So our
now for the students. Right.
Yeah. One of the things that we've done here, and John has been helpful with, is getting connected back with the colleges, and so all the places that are training nurses, we're working on ways to get nurses here, and it helps bring on that next generation of nurses, and B, it helps us to be able to staff as we find folks who are appropriate for what we do and who like what we do. It's like an interview process every time they come in. They interview us, we interview them, and then whenever they get out of when they graduate,
right.
that's how we pick up people. So it's giving back and it's beneficial to us too.
And these clinicals are required as part of their education. So
They have to have them.
So they have to have them, and but the hospital offering that opportunity, it gives them a chance probably not to have to go far away to do those clinicals.
Correct.
Keep it close. Staffing up, they still have a few openings for nurses too.
Yep. And I would say that there's and some of those are because we've had some internal moves. We have one that likes it here and they will move to the ED, and so you have some of those.
Sure.
A lot of those are, we solved one and then we open another, and so a lot of that is there. And then we're looking at expanding our the potential of expanding our home health nursing so that we can continue to do that. But I think you'll see in another slide whenever we get to the HR update that our turnover has been for what we've been through in the last year has been extremely positive.
There is a nurse internship program at the hospital as well, and the foundation also offers 2 scholarships, correct?
Yep. We're having 2 scholarships, and that was sort of new to me. I sort of discovered that in the board meeting on Tuesday night. But yep, we have two nursing scholarships, and we just started in July, just before I got here, a nurse intern program. So we're actually, whenever they come in, they have to come in and do an internship before they can graduate, and so we've got a nurse there that's doing that.
COVID's still around. Had a couple, 20 in February at the hospital. And flu is still around, but not as prevalent as it was in January and also late December. Still there. But those reports are given. As you mentioned, the Human Resources update, 6 new hires in February, but 11 people left.
Yep.
5 full-time had left. 1 full-time. You got a new CFO. As a matter of fact, last time we met, he had just gotten started, a couple new part-times, and 3 PRNs, all brand new. And then the other ones, like I said, there's a turnover. So let's talk about that turnover report that you're referring to here.
So first of all, some of those that were in that turnover report were PRNs, and those are folks that can work ad hoc, and they just weren't able to or weren't willing to or whatever. And so, there's an overhead to carrying those folks, and so if they're not going to do that, then we just move those off. And a lot of those PRNs were folks that were just cleaning up our records. But then our new and I don't have the numbers in my head exactly, but I want to say that our overall turnover rate was 28%. But whenever you look at patient specific, that dropped down to 16%, which is well below what the state average is for turnover according to the Missouri Hospital Association.
23.1 is what that is. Yeah.
So. You want to have as low as possible, but there are people who have life changes and things happen, and so they move on. They get promoted. They get good things happen to them. Sometimes they don't fit, and that's normal in an organization that size. But for what this family of people went through over the last year, to have that kind of turnover is very positive.
Right, very good. You had a good cornhole tournament.
Yes, we did, except for I lost terribly. It was tragic. It was tragic.
Sorry about that.
I didn't even know what cornhole was, and I was in the tournament. Me and my son went and played. It was tragic, and you've got professional cornhole players coming to that.
You
It
got
was
some really good players.
but we made over $4,000 for that, and so the upside to that is that we had a good event for the foundation, and that's something I'd like to see happen again. That was fun.
I'm sure we'll do it again. Golf tournament will be June 2nd. That'll be out at the country club out here at Spring Creek, and you can be a sponsor.
You certainly can. And you can reach out to Hannah, and she'll help you figure out how to do that.
Right, very good. And sponsorships, you can sponsor. I know we sponsor Hole in One at KSMO. We've done that for how long have they had the tournament? I think it's first year we did that. So
this is my first one.
well, I know, but we've been doing it a long time. A lot of people are repeaters. But if you've never done it and you want to,
we'd
feel
love to have
free
you.
to call the hospital at 729-6626. Ask for administration and then get a little hold of Hannah, and she or Jason or somebody will get back with you.
Absolutely.
Now, and teams will be signing up really soon.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think we already have some teams that have signed up.
I'm sure they have.
Yeah,
but
we've already had some
if
teams
you have
signed up.
not signed up before, again, contact them. They can send you a form, fax it to you, email it to you, and you can get your team members down.
And I think I may be a better cornhole player than I am a golfer. So
This could be really ugly. Huh?
no, I'll watch. I'll come up and watch.
I thought maybe you and your son would get out there and hack around.
No.
See if the groundskeeper comes out.
Yeah, I was going to say the groundskeeper would run us off.
All right, very good. They went over to marketing and community perception program, and it looks like Tiffany's been doing really a lot of extra work, hasn't she?
Yep. Between Tiffany and Jason and if you'll notice at the bottom, we're advertising outside the market so that we can bring, and one of the big things that the board asked for was that we make sure that we're advertising enough the
clinic.
The walk-in clinic to make sure that people know that we have a walk-in clinic and we have extended hours and that we have that Saturday clinic.
Right.
But that has been the Saturday clinic has beaten my expectations. They're doing a great job with that.
Chief of Staff's report was held the day before.
Yeah, the Chief of Staff meeting. We just went through regular business and had our quality updates, and there was no fires there.
Speaking of quality reports, Angela Christensen gave one.
She gave a quality report. So that report will probably get refined over the next few weeks. But one of the things that we look at is HCAHPS, which is the perception survey for patients. It's lower than we'd like. Our participation is lower than we'd like. But I'd like to give a shout out to Todd and our housekeepers because it consistently scores extremely well for cleanliness. It's one of the cleanest hospitals I've ever seen. But we want to drive up both our quality scores, our perception scores, and our participation in that. And then the next one, the high points of the one below that, those are our quality indicators and clinical quality indicators. And the takeaway from that is that in that period of time from July through December, we had no hospital-acquired conditions, which is very good.
Because there's Candida going around right
now.
now. Really
Candida auris is going around.
You're hearing that out there.
Yeah, we're it's always difficult to tell whether or not it's a real issue or if it's an issue that made it to the media. But right now, It looks to me like it's an issue that made it to the media. Although we do pay attention to that, and I will tell everybody that's listening now, the best thing you can do is wash your hands. Hand hygiene is the number one way of controlling all of those kinds
really
of.
Is. Mm-hmm. And you also have these little bottles of hand sterilizer. Use them, because you can't always go wash your hands.
Yep.
So if you have
hand
that
hygiene.
bottle or take the little bottle and take it with you, and move forward from there. And then you guys moved into closed session. Any votes?
So the big vote was that lab analyzer that we approved.
Right. Very good. So that's it.
Well,
that was pretty quick. We got you in and out of here for the most part. I know you got another meeting to be at 9:30. We want to thank Wayne for coming in and spending some time with us. And we do it once a month. And we just got to give you an update on what the board of directors are hearing and seeing with their hospital. They're making the decisions, but they're getting a lot more detail than what they used to get. And I think that's key. So they are much better informed before they make their decisions about where the hospital stands.
we want to be transparent. We want them to have the right information.
Very good. Well, sir, thank you very much. We appreciate Wayne coming in. And this is brought to you by Inman Insurance, a proud supporter of our Salem Hospital. And, of course, we appreciate Keith and his staff for all the great work that they do. And thank you, Keith and Inman Insurance, for sponsoring our hospital spotlights that we have every week right here on KSMO Media. Stay tuned. Got civic happenings coming up, AP news, and so much more all on the way.